Welcome to another episode of Nothing's Off the Table, when nothing is ever truly off the table. I'm your host, Hollywood, and I bring to you my fifth episode. My fifth episode. I'm gonna say that again. Five times. My fifth episode. I'm a wrestling fan. So if y'all might not know, I know. You know what it's about, if you do. But yeah, I bring to you my episode. I'm gonna read y'all my disclaimer because I'm gonna get right into things. I'm not gonna play with y'all this week. I'm gonna get right into things. My disclaimer is I'm not a pastor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not any of these things. But what I am is a person that's been through a lot, have some knowledge to give, and I'm definitely more than willing to give that, and I definitely want to give that. And I feel like that's the best thing that you can give to anybody, which is knowledge, especially when you have knowledge of self. And I definitely feel I have that. This week's episode is about overcoming health diagnosis. So many of us, especially in the Black community, we may suffer from high blood pressure, we may suffer from diabetes, we may suffer from cancer, we may have beaten this. Myself, I suffer from lupus. That was my diagnosis. I've been diagnosed with lupus for the past 15 years. I have a homeboy that has sickle cell. I have a homeboy that has kidney disease. And these things I feel like are definitely builders for strength and also for strengthening somebody else. There are ways that you can overcome this, and I'm just gonna go through some steps that maybe you should take and give you some gems to hopefully help you, and if you are going through, or if you know somebody that's going through. So definitely like and subscribe and send this to 10 people. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to tell you is that it's just a diagnosis. When your doctor comes to you and tells you that something, it's just a diagnosis. You have to look at it like that, because when you give horrible feedback to something, then you're already starting off in the wrong. You're already going in the wrong direction. So you're pushing yourself backwards. So what you want to do is you want to know that it's something that they're saying to you. It's something, in their field, their line of work, they did these tests or this blood work, and this blood work is telling you that. But the blood of Jesus is totally different. What your creator says is totally different. He has the last say. I know it may sound cliche, but it's definitely true. Based upon the laws of gravity, me and a lot of my homeboys shouldn't be here right now. But I'm here, right? I'm bringing you this content, which means I have purpose. Which means that even though my doctors, they don't mean no harm. They give it to me real, but at the same time, it's also my job to do my due diligence, and it's also my job to mentally do what they can't do. And that's uplift myself. Also, it's my job to make sure that I create a healthy, create a healthy atmosphere within my brain and within my mind, so that way, I can overcome these things. It's not the end of the world when you get a diagnosis. If I would have thought it was the end of the world, I wouldn't have lasted 15 years with this diagnosis. I'm not gonna last more years with that diagnosis if, I look at it like it's the end of the world and I just give up. You can't give up. Yes, that's the time for you to fight even harder. So fight and know that it's just a diagnosis. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes we're stubborn with the people around us. We're stubborn in relationships. We're stubborn with our significant others, our family members, our siblings, our parents. Be stubborn with your diagnosis. Don't succumb to it. Fight. That's one of the things that I feel that God knows. God only gives certain type of challenges to certain fighters. He gives his sturdiest and most grittiest challenges to his most grittiest people. The people that are going to get downright and dirty and that are going to use all their utilities to defeat and are not going to stop till they defeat the enemy. And the enemy is these diagnoses. The enemy is all the things that the devil set in front of you so that you can fail. You know, it's so easy to fail. It's so easy to fail, but it's also easier to win. It is. Because you're equipped with the utilities to allow yourself to win. You're equipped with the utilities to defeat your diagnosis. That's one, your mind, that's your spirituality, and that's your physical. Because physically, you can change. These are things that you can do. These are things that you can implement to change. You can. I'm a firm believer in that. You know, so, you know, take it as, you know, look at it as it's just a diagnosis, but also look at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to change that, you know? With that being said, I'm gonna go into the second thing that I feel is very important when you get a diagnosis or when you're going through a health battle. Choose something that's gonna defy that health diagnosis. Choose to do something. I'll give you an example. My homeboy Rico, he has sickle cell, right? Shout out to my brother. Love you, man. Shout out to it and go to his podcast, 5 Minute Buddha. 5 Minute Buddha. You can find it on all platforms, whether it be Google, Apple, all that. And follow his Instagram, 5 Minute Buddha. You know what I mean? So my boy Rico, shout out to my boy Rico. But Rico basically has sickle cell. And one of the things he did a couple years ago was that he transformed his body. Growing up, we were the skinniest kids in our crew. And he was born with sickle cell. I wasn't born with lupus, you know. It's just something I contacted. I was diagnosed with it when I was 20 years old. 21 years old. So basically, but what happened was, you know, he wanted to transform his body. We had been skinny all our lives. And he was like, yo, I'm tired of being skinny. And I want to do what my body is telling me that I can't. And he did it. And he's probably one of the most in shape dudes ever. You know what I'm saying? No wuss. My man is buff. You know what I mean? He take his shirt off, it's a gun show. like, you know what I mean? It's a gun show. You for real, you hear pop, 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 pop all over. You feel like you're in Compton. Like, you know what I mean? When my man take his shirt off. But I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, you know, what that did was enlighten me. Because now, not only was I diagnosed with lupus, I go to dialysis. I'm on my second stint of dialysis. I was on dialysis back in 2012, 2016. I got a transplant. Unfortunately, my transplant failed due to behind the scenes reasons in 2019. And now I'm back on the transplant list. And I'm telling you, I've been on dialysis for the past 2 years, and I know my kidney is coming. And that's just my optimisticness, and that's just me knowing that, you know, I'm gonna defy the laws of gravity again. The first stint I had in dialysis, they told me it takes about 8 to 10 years to get a transplant. I got mine in record time. I got my kidney transplant in 4 years. And it's something that me and my doctor both proclaimed was gonna happen, and it happened. So don't, you know what I mean? So defy the laws of your diagnosis. Don't accept what they're telling you. If they tell you one thing, say out your mouth that it's gonna be another thing. I said out my mouth for 4 years that I'm gonna get my kidney today. And I got it on that day, October 4th of 2016. You know? So I know I'm gonna get my kidney by the end of this year. I know it's gonna happen for me, because I know it. I'm not meant to be on dialysis for the rest of my life. I'm meant to live life, and I'm meant to do these things. But another thing I'm doing is that I said I'm gonna defy the laws of gravity again, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I'm physically in the best possible shape that I've ever been in my life. I've been on the journey of working out through the years, but this time I'm gonna fully commit to it, and I'm gonna make sure the next time you see me on the gram or on social media, and I do a photo shoot, it's gonna be with my shirt off, and it's gonna be in a situation where you're like, damn, yo, he really did that. He really set out to get his body in a particular way, and he did it. After this YouTube channel, I'm working out, clanging and banging like The Rock says, and I'm gonna get my body to where I want it to be. It's gonna be a gun show. You're gonna feel like you're at the gun range. You know what I mean? When I take my shirt off and when you see me with my shirt off. So stay tuned. But anyway, you know, that's what it is. Whether it could be something simple as changing your diet, changing your eating habits, because maybe you suffer from high blood pressure, and maybe what's contributing to your high blood pressure is your eating habits. Do it. Do whatever is gonna allow you to live a longer life. Make that sacrifice. That's the greatest sacrifice you can make. Something that's bettering your lifespan. Why not? So let's take what these doctors say as a grain of salt. Because you can change anything. You can change any circumstance in your life. If you have a money issue, you can change that. You know how you circumvent that? Hard work, dedication, training your mind mentally. I'm a firm believer in spiritual, mental, and physical. I feel like they all go together. So if you get yourself right spiritually, it's gonna allow you to get yourself right mentally. If you can get yourself right spiritually and mentally, you can get yourself right physically. Because you already have the requisite utilities to do that. So that's why you want to that's what you need to defy the laws of your diagnosis. Don't accept it. Be stubborn with it. And use the utilities that you have, with your spirituality, your mind, and then that is going to circumvent your physical, where you can create the physical being that you want to be. Every day you get up, you have an opportunity to change. Every day God wakes you up, you have an opportunity to change. Whether it be something that you feel is, creating, a negative in your life that's creating negative energy. You have the opportunity to change that. You have an opportunity to transition that into positive energy. You do. So when a doctor gives you a diagnosis, you have an opportunity to prove them wrong. You have the opportunity to strengthen yourself and to overcome. That's how you look at it. Don't look at it as an obstacle. Look at it as an opportunity. Defy it. Change it. Change the stigma. Transition. The third thing and the last thing I want to tell you is that it's life and death in the tongue, y'all. Life and death in the tongue. Do not speak negatively upon your circumstance. Do not speak negatively upon your diagnosis. Always speak positive. Even when you don't feel good, speak positive. I have this thing, and I bring up my boy Rico a lot because he's definitely a person that he's what we call, and we create this agreement that we have with each other under every circumstance. We are each other's safeguards. So meaning what that means is there's been times where, in the terms of my diagnosis, I've had bad days. There's been times he's had bad days. We've always been there for each other. But one of the things that we both instill in each other is that we don't speak negatively about it, right? So what that means is if my boy feels like he's on the verge of a crisis, I'm gonna tell him, yo, you can beat that. You can defy that. What you're gonna do is don't speak about your crisis. Don't say that you're gonna have a crisis. Say that I'm good. Physically, I'm good. And he'll do something. He'll start working out. He'll bust out 50 push-ups in a clip. Same thing, vice versa. I ain't busting out 50 push-ups in a clip. I'm getting there, yo. But, I do the same thing. So, and the same thing with my homeboy Wayne, my homeboy Hugh, super producer, Grammy Award winning producer, my best friend, my boy Hugh. He is the epitome of defiant of life and death in the tongue. I've never heard him speak negatively about his situation, and when he went on his journey to become a producer, you know, he spoke that, yo, I'm gonna be a super producer. I am gonna be a Grammy Award winning producer. I am gonna have my songs have a top 10 record. He has. He's a producer for her. He's written songs for her. He's written for Snow Allegra, Tory Lanez. He's on Drake's album. And that's something that's life and death in the tongue as well. He manifested that. So, you know, I have examples around me, whether it be my boy Rico with 5 Minute Buddha and creating a platform for himself so that he can speak about the things that he needs to speak about that's going to enlighten. I have a boy that is enlightening the world as well with his music and his ventures, you know, and he's just not a musician. He's an all-around, well-faceted dude. Both of them are. All of us are, you know, and I could go on and on. But, you know, there's life and death in the tongue. So if you speak life, these brothers spoke life, and now they're manifesting it, you know. So that's what you want to do. Don't speak life in anything that you want, you know. Don't speak death upon it. Don't speak death upon your wallet. Don't speak negatively upon your wallet or your purse or your bank account, because that's what's going to be. It's going to be death in your bank account. You're always going to be broke. Always. I'm always talking crazy about my wallet, no matter what's in my bank account. I'm always talking smack. I'm a big smack talker. If anybody knows me, I'm competitive. I'm a smack talker. I'm in sales. So obviously I want to be the best sales rep because I want the most money. If you have more money than me, it's a problem. It's a problem for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak. Oh, I'm going to be the #1 sales rep. And I was just last year. And I'm going to be that again. You know, I am going to make the most money. We have this thing at my job called the bump, which is basically a multiplier. So I work in commissions. I get an hourly, I get a salary, and I get commissions. So basically what that means is if I hit the bump or the multiplier, that means that my check doubles. So like if I have a $5,000 commission check, my check is going to be $10,000. So every month I'm on the chase to do that, you know. And I've done that a couple of times, but I want to do it more. My goal is to do it every month, you know, for the rest of my career. Because I'm not going to be there forever. Because at some point, I want to go out and work for myself. But that's like me speaking life upon my life and my business structure. So do that. You know, these things are going to come to fruition. And know that and be confident in that. Anything you put into the universe or anything you say to God, there's the opportunity for him to make it happen. But you have to believe first, and you have to continue to speak life, and you have to give him examples that you know it's going to happen. We live by faith, not by sight. And that goes hand in hand with the life and death in the tongue. Because if you live by faith and you don't care about what you see, you're living by faith. So you know that at the end of the day, your steps are ordered and that you're going to get to your destined destination, period. So know that there's life and death in the tongue. Just because a doctor tells you a diagnosis does not mean you have to accept it. Like I said before, previously, you have an opportunity to overcome it. So one of the ways that you overcome it is by speaking life and speaking the word, the greatest thing about manifestation. You know, speaking manifestation. Sorry, y'all, I got tongue tied. But speaking manifestation, that's the best way. And that is the only way that you're going to overcome something. By mentally strengthening your mind and being positive and speaking positive. It's life and death in the tongue, y'all. You know what I mean? Start speaking life and everything that you want to happen great for you. Speak it, and it will be. Train your mind. So, yo, that's our episode, yo. I could go on and on. I'm probably going to make a part 2 of this. Because, you know, I'm a firm believer that I'm an example. I want to tell y'all this story, right? I want to tell y'all the story about, and then I'm going to leave y'all alone because I'm very long-winded. But I want to tell you a story. So I'm going to tell y'all a story about how I got my transplant. So, 2012, I put on dialysis because of complications of my lupus, and I was put on dialysis, and it was one of the most depressing things ever because, you know, my doctors, they had fought long and hard for me not to be on dialysis, but I ended up on dialysis anyway, and I needed a kidney transplant. So while on dialysis, I still went to work every day. So I would go to dialysis at the time for 3.5 hours. I'm off for 4 hours now. 3.5 hour treatments. When I went, every day I would go to work. Every day of my treatments, 3 days a week, I would still go to work after and work at 8 to 12 hour shift. And times I worked overtime. And I was in sales, I was on my feet all day. And thank God to my family and the people that are around me because they help strengthen me. But every day you can ask my coworkers, I definitely said that I was getting my kidney. I knew my kidney was coming. My coworkers asked me, my kidney's coming. It's coming. And they will tell you that I'm probably one of the most positive dudes. Even days when I doubted, I still knew that my kidney was coming because I spoke life. And then 4 years later, originally the doctors told me and my kidney doctor, my nephrologist, that it usually takes about 8 to 10 years. Me and my nephrologist looked at each other and we said, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna have it by my 32nd birthday. At the time I was 28. And that's record time, 4 years. Fast forward to 2016. 2015, my pastor had passed away. So I hadn't really been to church in a year. And because I was just not, used to going to church and him not being there, I wasn't right with the fact that he wasn't here. So one day I decided, my ex fiance at the time, she said to me, we should go to church. I really feel like we should all go to church as a family. So we went to church as a family, and there was a new pastor there. And the new pastor there, he had the church on fire. He gave us that feel of like Pastor Ron, God rest his soul, the greatest, was there. He gave us that atmosphere, and the church was on fire. And I remember he said that if you praise like you've never praised before, something that you've been asking for, that you've been praying for the longest, is gonna happen. And that was Sunday, y'all. So I praised, I cried, I shouted, I screamed, everything. I gave it up. I gave it up to God that day. And I gave it all to him. And lo and behold, that was the 8 o'clock service. I got out of church at 11. I went to both services and went out to eat with my family. And then 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from St. Barnabas Hospital in Livingston, New Jersey. And they told me that they had a kidney for me. And that is my definition of living living by faith and not by sight. That is my definition of life and death in the tongue. Because God realized that I wasn't going to deviate from what I believed. And I wasn't going to deviate from my faith in him. So because I didn't deviate from my faith in him, he allowed my manifestation to come to fruition. And that's what I'm saying, yo. There's life and death in the tongue. And I got a bunch of stories within my life, but there's life and death in the tongue. So take that with y'all. Take what these doctors say, these diagnoses, with a grain of salt, and do you. And get to work. Work on yourself. And that's it, man. Oh, as always, my Instagram is YFG Hollywood. I just want to thank y'all and for all the feedback and all the love that you give me, for liking, subscribing. Even if you like and subscribe and you're like, I don't like this dude, the next episode, and unsubscribe, definitely you have an opportunity to like and subscribe again. But like and subscribe, send it to 10 different people, put people on, yo. I don't do this for my faith. I don't do this for my faith. I don't do this for my health. You know what I'm saying? And I thank y'all. I love y'all. Send it to 10 different people. Put 10 people on. And let's get this out to the community, y'all. Especially this episode. If you have a loved one that's going through health diagnosis, whether it be diabetes, sickle cell, lupus, cancer, anything, just, to strengthen them, send them this. Because I want to be an example. Sometimes you got to tell your story to, you know, to encourage somebody else, and I'm definitely down for that. I love y'all. One. YG Hollywood, yo. You're gonna see my pre-video. It's gonna have the link to this video and a link to my channel. YG Hollywood. I'm done this time. I promise. One.